Happy Friday, and thank you for tuning in to our first tips for job search success. Today we are kicking off our Higher Level Knows Facebook Live session, and my name is Erin Kobeck, and I'm the Marketing Director with Higher Level.
Hey guys, my name is Christina Murray, and I am the Communications Coordinator here at Higher Level, so I do some marketing things as well as I help our recruiting teams and also working on new target markets.
Hi, I'm Emily Hoffman. I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition. I work out of our St. Louis office and I oversee our team of professional recruiters that work on our national and MSP clients across the U.S.
Thank you guys for joining, and so we're going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of tune in. Hopefully the Friday afternoon everybody has some time to join us for our success and our tips. So kind of what we're going to start out today is just doing a Q&A, kind of getting these ladies' expertise on job searching and different tools that you can use, resources, etc. But feel free to ask us questions, chime in, let us know what you want to know and how we can help you, and we will do the best we can to answer your questions.
Awesome.
You ladies ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So one popular question that I know we get often is what resources other than traditional job boards will provide additional access to jobs that are available?
Well, obviously I've been in the agency side of recruiting long enough to have seen a lot of success come from using a staffing agency, from using a headhunter. And I think what's really important for job seekers, if you're out there and you're plugging away on these applications, make sure that you're also reaching out to staffing agencies, to headhunters, and really talking about, how they can work with you and how you can build relationships with them. Sometimes they may not have a job open right then, but once you get into those databases and you build that relationship with them, you're always on the radar for any future position. These folks here, the recruiters, the salespeople, everyone are constantly out building relationships with hiring managers and HR people. And with your information in our database, it's much more likely that we'll be able to find a great fit for you.
Absolutely, and of course, and kind of to add on to what she's saying, here at Higher Level, using a workforce development company is also going to just benefit you overall, mainly because we are going to take your resume, we are going to look at your skills, we're going to be able to say, okay, we may or may not have a position that's open and available for you currently, but that doesn't mean that next week or a couple weeks down the road that we're not going to be able to come up with that availability and say, hey, we found the perfect fit for you, or this is going to be a really good opportunity to kind of either start your career or grow it even further. So just keeping in mind, you don't have to strictly go with a workforce development. You can't just say, here's my resume and I only want to go through you guys. There's a ton of other resources, but just even giving us your resume and letting us take a look for you and seeing what we can kind of do to help and advance your job search.
Absolutely, and it's also really important that you're definitely doing yourself a service by applying for jobs, but really where the key is, especially if you're a skilled professional, making sure that you're searchable, putting your resume out there, not just applying for jobs on Indeed, but making sure that your resume is accessible and searchable to any recruiters. A lot of times there are jobs out there that recruiters are only sourcing for. They're not actively paying to advertise them. So think about how searchable you are in those databases as well.
Awesome. And also guys, as we go through these questions, if you're tuning in, if you're watching live, please feel free to ask us a question, put it in the comments. We'd be more than happy to address those questions currently. So
I know some job candidates sometimes are, they're impatient, 6 months, 2 weeks. Sometimes the span to accelerate a job search is just lengthy. So what are some tips that people can do to speed up this process and to make it more of a success?
Sure. Well, HR people, recruiters, we're naturally connectors. We really enjoy connecting people with their passion, putting them into the careers that they're looking for. So getting out there on social media, connecting with HR people and recruiters, asking for advice, asking for feedback. Is this the information that I need on my resume? Is this, am I searchable? Asking for advice and really then connecting with them and asking them to connect you with other HR professionals that can help in their job search. I think that's a huge part of how you can create opportunities for yourself.
And I think too, just don't forget about your community. So obviously we're really big into helping the community and being involved in the community, but that's going to be one of your greatest assets, mainly because if you're going to networking events, if you're volunteering within your community, there's a ton of other professionals out there that are doing the same exact things, and it would be really great to, as you're giving back or as you're doing these things, that you're going to meet them in person, and then you're going to build those relationships, and once you build a relationship, it's much easier, and it does accelerate your process by quite a large amount, just because having and building relationships really is key to gaining the job that you're looking for.
So once someone applies online, press that submit button. We know their resumes can go to whoever, recruiters, business owners. What could they do to kind of, I guess, continue to speed the process, but also get in front of these people? What type of outreach would you recommend to get in contact with these people?
Well, I think you'll see once you spend any amount of time on LinkedIn, that's where these recruiters and hiring managers, they're mostly HR generalists, HR business partners, we're all moving around in there. So you're going to find that they're most accessible through a professional networking site like LinkedIn. A lot of companies have referral bonus programs. So if you can get someone that's in a company that is somehow connected with you to help you facilitate a referral, that's really a great way to get in front of a hiring manager faster than your typical job application.
That's a good idea.
And it's really great for those individuals that you're referring, because if you're a good worker and they really like you and you know someone that's looking for a job, the likelihood of being referred by someone who's already doing well is going to put you in there a lot quicker than if you didn't have a referral or if you didn't meet somebody or know someone at a networking event. So just kind of keeping that in mind, it's pretty important.
All right, great. So talking about social media and that being a pretty big part of our culture, specifically LinkedIn and of course other platforms, what are your other tips? I know we talked about using keywords in our LinkedIn profiles. We talked about that. How can that help facilitate this?
We talk about personal branding a lot here at Higher Level, and it's really important to make sure that you have a complete profile out there. Put a picture out there. Make sure it's somewhat professional. It's not from a party. It's not, it's not unacceptable. It doesn't necessarily need to be a professional headshot. But filling out that summary section as well and making sure that those buzzwords and that industry information that you want to include that makes you searchable is on that summary. There's also a section on LinkedIn where you can put your personal phone number, your personal email address. You can link to, if you have a portfolio online or an online resume, you can link all of that right there and it's entirely searchable. A really quick way to get those buzzwords into your summary is to also include a job description under the information that you have about each job. You have a spot where you can put skills and certifications, education, and ask for endorsements. People that you worked with previously, old supervisors, you can get endorsements on there that are also searchable, and they lend a lot of credibility to the work that you've done in the past.
And as a reminder too, I work here for Higher Level and I'm doing a lot of the social media and, across the board on every platform. And you have to remember as an individual that employers now are looking at that. Social media is growing and it will not stop anytime soon. And so they're actually looking to see about culture fit. You want to have a personality, but you have to remember that it needs to be professional. Obviously, LinkedIn, it is a professional site. I would say most of the time, everything on there looks pretty good, but Facebook has a tendency to be more personal. So just making sure that the stuff that you're posting is decent, and if you are actively looking for work, remembering that that is something that they are looking at. So just kind of keeping that at the forefront and just making sure, once again, that everything is accessible, people can view you, because they are looking for a good culture fit. That's a huge deal these days, so is planning that out.
And it's not always just, you can't just throw articles and questions out and assume that everyone's going to see them. You do need to be actively engaged with your network. When you put that article out there and someone responds, then now you're also engaging with them. You're reading articles that other people are putting out and engaging with those, commenting, getting to know people. It's a networking site, and that's what it's there for. You can't just throw posts out there.
And this will also accelerate the speed of finding a job. If you are engaging and actively engaging every day on LinkedIn and talking to other people, you're going to get noticed. People are going to recognize you. They're going to be like, oh, they ask really great questions and they're really passionate about this and they're really interested. So engagement is huge. So I completely agree with that.
I agree. And something that we've learned too is consistency and becoming the expert in your field. So, going different avenues, sign up for industry newsletters, post consistently, and that always helps with the engagement as well. So,
Absolutely.
So keywords. How do they use them in a resume? How do they identify these keywords if they're not as familiar with this technique when job searching?
Sure. So the keywords, primarily just off the top, they're skills, abilities, qualities, and they're your credentials. But they're also keywords that you're finding in job descriptions. So you want your resume to mirror the language and the verbiage in the job description that you're targeting. So you want to include those words within context. You can't just throw a list of words on there, which we do see. You want to use them strategically and within context, because what happens is corporate human resources department have applicant tracking systems, ATSs, and software that will read those resumes as you apply online, and they're looking for specific words from the job description to actively screen out less qualified candidates to reduce the amount of work for the hiring manager. It makes it more efficient. So the only resumes that make their way to the hiring manager are the ones that have the most words in them. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is how formatted and locked is your resume. Did you use a downloaded resume template that has the anchored sections on them? Do you have graphics? Do you have lines? That may be actively working against you as you apply online. It needs to be a text resume because those systems are designed to parse out and reduce the number of applicants they get.
And to add on to that, as far as what your resume looks like, 9 times out of 10, recruiters or people that are sourcing your resume, their main goal are those words. Mm-hmm. They don't really care so much about, oh, this looks really pretty and this is really nice. They're absolutely looking at keywords. What does that say about your skill set? And so just making sure that your verbiage is really key, so you don't have to worry about making it look super pretty. It needs to be clean, but the words and the verbiage are the most important part.
Absolutely.
So I think one thing to remember is your resume is not set in stone. So, tailor that resume with keywords, different ideas, different verbiage to the position that you're applying for. I think that's important to remember as well.
Absolutely.
And that's with every job. So if you don't need to just be having your resume and submitting that same resume across the board. It needs to be every single job that you're applying to. You need to be reading the job description, and then you need to tailor your skill set to that almost to a T. So.
All right, question 5. What are some other tactics that can help a job seeker stand out?
Oh man, I put this out on my LinkedIn on Wednesday and it got a ton of hits from hiring managers and recruiters. And what we primarily saw from their feedback, so it's not just me, primarily what they were really interested in from candidates is once you do land that interview, what happens then? And it means coming prepared, being over-prepared. What they really liked was when people came with research about the organization, the field, the industry, the competitors, and the role itself. The candidates that stood out most for them were ones that looked at the job description and really thought, what are the challenges that this role sees, and what are the solutions and the skills that I can immediately bring to the table that set me apart from other candidates. And I just thought that's the most effective way to set yourself apart, is in that interview, in that first physical impression that you can make.
And another thing I would recommend is personal growth. So as a professional of any kind, I think that professional growth is extremely important. Kind of keeps you ahead just a little bit. And what I mean by that is, are you reading books pertaining to what your career or what you want your career to look like. There's so much information. There's industry articles out there. Are you sharing that information so people know that that's the kind of career you're interested in? So just making sure that even though you're not working and you're gaining that experience right now, you can be reading books and you can be reading articles and you can really be personally growing yourself to be the best you can be.
Absolutely.
So
I think that's a good point. So we've covered, different resources, not your traditional job boards. Reach out to your local staffing companies. Social media. We have also covered basically tailoring your resume, using those keywords, not being afraid to mix it up. We've also covered, staying up to date with your skills. Be the industry expert and put yourself out there. Is there anything else that you would advise our viewers?
I think we've covered a lot of topics today. I do want to say that if you didn't get to tune in during our live session, but you do have questions and there are things you're actively interested in learning more about, please just put a question or a comment below this video and we will stay absolutely engaged with you and try to answer those questions to the best of our ability. So just make sure you're asking and we're going to do our best to help out.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. We want to help you in your job search and furthering your career. So anything that we can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to any one of us to help you.
Yeah.
Yes, reach out. And thank you guys for tuning in. We are going to be live in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for our advertisements. And I think we're talking about onboarding next time.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and thanks again.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Have a good day,
Bye.
guys.